Nathan Longoria, and this is my competitive analysis. The feature I'm looking into is the resource exchange, or for players, it's more well known as the resource management uh, portion of a game. In this case, I'm focusing on City Skylines, but examples of other games that have something similar are games such as Civilization, SimCity, Banished. Pretty much, those are city building versions, but almost any game that has an economy has some form of resource management to it. But in this case, I want to focus more on the actual exchange of those resources, those numbers, those values. And in the case of this game, go ahead and pause this and speed it up. There's three main uh, resources that you need to focus on. Demands for resources, that is. So the green is your residential, and then I can just throw these into here, and they will begin to fill in. As they fill in, this bar down here at the bottom will begin to go down as it consumes that resource. As it consumes that resource, the orange and the blue will begin to go up depending. If the orange goes up, that means that there are just basic jobs. If the blue goes up, that means there's jobs, but there's also resources that need to be sold. There's two different types of produced resources in this game as well. Those being the what's the term for? Oh, the exported and imported. Another way of thinking of the imported is just whether or not it leaves the city. Because in this case, that's essentially what the shops are for. Okay, whoops. Throw this right here real fast. That way it has electricity and it continues to go forth. But with those two type of resources, it determines what your city would do. Will it just export it and make money off of that, shown here, making 1,000 so, which isn't great. But as it does so, it has a more booming economy, which makes more people want to work there, which makes more people want to live there, which makes the green go up. You build more houses, that makes more people available for working, which creates a demand for the orange, the industry, which allows you to build more industrial buildings, and that cycle continues. But this case, it has multiple levels to that. Like I mentioned, the exported and imported, whether that just means making more money and bringing more people into work, or it means sending those resources to your own shops, creating more jobs within your city, marked as the blue. You can have a city that has almost no blue, or you can have a city that has mostly only blue, focusing on mostly nothing but importing. But to do that, you'll need access to the sea, to trains, to train tracks, airplanes, and more highway connections. Currently, I have two possible connections. With all those, you can focus more heavily on shops instead of actually producing them, which creates pollution or keeps your education lower. If you want higher education, you need those shops. But in the case of City Skylines, it also goes to the electricity, water, trash. Each of these has a resource balance as well. What you have and what you can consume, or well, in this case, what you're producing and what you're able to consume. If you're able to consume more, you're able to build more buildings, and that leads back into the whole primary cycle again. Same thing with water and trash and so on. The healthcare, fire department, police, education, all that feeds back into that resource loop. And that's my competitive analysis on the resource exchange or management for City Skylines.